Saudi Arabia's economic growth is expected to further accelerate to 1.9% in 2019. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) has marginally raised Saudi Arabia's 2018 economic growth forecast to 1.7% as against the previous 1.6% following the rise in crude oil prices, a report said. This is expected to further accelerate to 1.9% in 2019, previous estimate 2.2%, on account of a possible increase in oil production post the expiry of output cut agreement, added the latest economic research by Al Raji, a leading financial services provider in Saudi Arabia. Under the kingdom's privatization program to raise around state route 35-40 billion, $9.30 billion, $10.65 billion by 2020 through asset sales, the government would engage in privatization of its football clubs, 4 flour mills and a water desalination production facility. The plan also calls for corporatization of ports, privatizing of some transportation sector services, and making King Faisal Specialist Hospital. The planned privatization, PPP, would also lead to net savings, capex. Saudi Arabia's Q4 2017 GDP figures showed that the economy contracted 1.2% YOY, minus 0.4% YOY in Q3 2017, dragged down by the 4.3% decline in oil sector due to the output cut deal. However, the non-oil sector grew 1.3% YOY, compared to 2.1% YOY growth in Q3 2017, backed by government spending. Moody's affirmed Saudi Arabia's sovereign credit rating to A1 on expectations that the government's structural reforms would reduce the kingdom's reliance on oil and the continued fiscal consolidation would stabilize the government's debt burden below 30% of the GDP. Total reserves of the Saudi Arabian Monetary Agency (SAMA) rose sequentially after falling for 2 straight months in March 2018. Government reserves with SAMA stood at state route 605.4 billion, including government current account, as of March 2018, recording a monthly fall of 0.5%. Meanwhile, the deposits declined for the second consecutive month in March, down 0.6% MOM, minus 0.5% YOY, whereas credit to the private sector rose 0.6% MOM, minus 0.7% YOY, in March. Q4 2017 labor data indicated that the total unemployment rate rose to 6.0% from 5.8% in Q3 2017, while the Saudi unemployment rate remained steady at 12.8% for the same period. Real estate price index fell at a slower pace of 1.5% YOY in Q1 2018, as against a fall of 3.3% YOY in Q4 2017, as residential and commercial property prices dropped at a slower pace. Banking sector profits surged 22.4% YOY to stand at state route 4, $143 million in March 2018, while on a monthly basis, profits rose 8.9%. The cumulative banking sector profits for Q1 2018 stood at state route 12, $113 million, up 7.6% YOY. Money supply, M3, rose 0.2% YOY in March 2018 to state route 1, $782 billion, versus the yearly rise of 2.0% in February, supported by the rise in M1, 2.2% YOY. Meanwhile, as per the weekly money supply data by SAMA, M3 may remain broadly stable in April 2018. Consumer spending continued to climb higher as indicated by the point-of-sale (POS) transaction 19.8% YOY in March 2018, versus the rise of 8.7% YOY in February, led by rise in restaurants and hotels 41.7% YOY, food and beverage 25.9%, and clothing and footwear 14.9% YOY segments. ATM transactions rose 5.3% YOY in March 2018 compared to the rise of 2.7% YOY in February. Personal transfers, remittances, by Saudi nationals advanced 40.6% YoY in March 2018, while remittances by non-Saudi nationals was almost flat, 0.4% YoY, in the same month. Crude oil prices. Brent July futures contract gained 8.5% MOM in April 2018, due to geopolitical concerns in Syria and Iran coupled with easing trade war concerns between the US and China. Further, the drop in the U.S. crude oil stockpiles also supported crude oil prices. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia's crude oil production edged down on a monthly basis in March 2018. Kingdom's non-oil exports advanced for the fifth consecutive month, up by 35.8% YoY in February 2018, 18.0% YoY in January 2018, whereas the non-oil imports fell 1.1% YoY in February 2018, minus 13.2% YoY in January 2018, Al-Raji said in the report. Cost of living index base year 2013 grew by 2.8% YoY in March 2018, owing to slower rise in the housing, water, electricity, gas and food. On a monthly basis, the index slipped 0.2% in March 2018 as against the rise of 0.1% MOM in the previous month. Saudi Arabia raised state route $5 billion in April through domestic sukuk issuance under the senior-denominated sukuk program. The government sold state route $3.8 billion of 5-year bonds, state route $750 million of 7-year bonds and state route $450 million of 10-year bonds. Further, the kingdom also raised $11 billion via international bond sales. The government issued $4.5 billion of 7-year bonds, $3 billion of 12-year bonds and $3.5 billion of 31-year bonds, Trade Arabia News Service.